All right, so now let's talk about going into side body locks with the head on the outside. Now, this is a pretty common scenario you find yourself in, more with wrestling takedowns than you do in jiu-jitsu. A lot of times you can kind of control where your head lands when you're trying to shoot into side body locks when you're on the ground. But this is more common off of like head outside single legs or double legs, for example, where I circle my partner down, where I go into a circular double and I hit a double leg like so, and I circle my partner down and I hop to the outside, and now I move to a body lock and my partner is in a situation like so. Or I go into a head outside single like so, and I start playing a game where I sit my partner down to the floor, and now from here we start moving around to the side and we have a head outside body lock like so. Okay, so it's more common than you think when you're doing wrestling takedowns, but it can occur in jiu-jitsu scenarios too. And it's a little bit more precarious of a position for two reasons. Number one, you have to avoid a guillotine. There's guillotine danger because your head's on the outside. So that's always an inherent danger, because when your head's on the inside, there's no submission danger. And number two, it's harder to flat back your opponent and put their back flat on the floor because they usually have an over back grip. Okay, so their head is, in this position, their head is inherently higher than yours. Whereas when you have a head inside body lock, your heads are relatively the same level. When you have the head outside body lock and your partner uses this over back grip, your head is naturally lower than hers. And if your partner's an idiot and she doesn't have an over back grip, and it's a pretty easy thing, you just come up and start taking your partner's back or transition your head to the inside, and then your partner has to put a whizzer on. Okay, but anyone good is always going to have this over back grip. So now whenever I try to climb to my partner's back, she can put weight on my head through the elbow position, and I can't quite get to my partner's back from here. Okay, so it's a little bit more precarious because of the fact that there's a submission danger with the guillotine, and because of the fact that it's going to be harder to return your partner's back to the floor. So now let's take a look at some of the entrances that we can use and some ways that we can pass or take our partners back depending on what their reactions are. All right, we're talking about entrances into side body locks, head outside position. First of all, just know that there aren't any conversions to the head outside from front body locks. Whenever you make conversions from front body locks to side body locks, your head is always going to be on the inside position, which is good. The entrances to head to the outside are the same exact entrances as previous. It's just when your head position in the heat of the moment, and you know you're having a tough match, and maybe your partner shoves your head to the side, or maybe everything's not set up perfect and your head position is a little bit off, and you end up with your head to the outside, where you shoot past your partner's legs. So you play the same game where you shoot past our partner's legs, and instead of coming forwards and my head slipping to the inside, my head comes out, and I dive in, and my head falls to the outside. Okay, this can happen. Very realistic when you're doing it live, and you have a talented player who's trying to force you to the head outside if you outflank the legs. This is a pretty common thing. So I'm playing a game where I have the same exact setups from the feet or from the knees. I'm playing to get my partner's knees pointing in the same direction, because I need my partner's knees pointing in the same direction because we're going to side body locks. The only difference is the head position. So I get the knees pointing in the same direction, and I play a game where I come through, and now instead of turning and my head comes inside, maybe I just dive in and my partner's scooting away. So if I try to turn a corner, she scoots away and then she recovers. So I make an on-the-fly decision where instead of trying to bring my knee forward and turn the corner and get my head in good position as she goes to scoot away, I just take a shortcut and I just go and I just focus on locking my hands. And now from here, my partner takes that over back grip, and from here, she can start working. Okay, she doesn't. If she posts her hands on the floor, then there's no reason why I can't just switch my head to the inside. And now it's a pretty easy thing. If my partner has two hands on the floor like this, it's the easiest thing in the world to just chop my partner's hand out and put her back on the floor, and then you can easily pass your partner's guard. Okay, so she's always going to use an over back grip. So the entrances remain the same, but my head position's a little off this time. So I'm playing here, I got to move, and from here I feel like I'm not going to be able to get to an angle as drastic as I need, and I just going to focus on locking my hands. So instead of walking all the way perpendicular, where now I can drop, I feel like I'm not going to be able to get an angle that is as drastic. And from here, I just go in and I just focus on locking my hands into a side body lock, and my head is on the outside. Okay, my head position is slightly off, or I can't create the angle that I need. I can't get the space, that I can't cover the distance that I need. My head ends up on the outside off these same initial entrances that we used with the head on the inside. My head position's off, so my head ends up on the outside, and we have to work from there. All right, so when we initially shoot into a head outside side body lock, the first thing we have to look at is avoiding a guillotine, because that's the main danger. If my partner locks a guillotine, you have to then it's tight. You have to disengage the body lock, and you have to address the guillotine, and then you've lost everything you've just done. Okay, so when I first lock up, I lock like so. In order to avoid the guillotine, if my chin is up in this fashion like so, my partner can crunch my chin to my chest through this pressure of the elbow, fit the hand through, and now I'm in a guillotine and I'm running into danger here. And I'm on the wrong side, so I can actually get strangled. So the second I lock into a side body lock with my head on the outside, I immediately shrug my shoulders and I connect my jaw, the left side of my jaw, to my left shoulder. Then I take my chin and I connect it to my partner's hip. Like so. My partner has to expose the space between my left shoulder and the left part of my lower jaw with her wrist in order to guillotine me. And then it has to come through on the other side and shoot through this hole right here between my shoulder and her hip in order to actually go in and lock a full strangle. So the first thing I do, the first point of insertion is going to be between my jaw and my shoulder. So the first thing I do is I cut off that path. Then I glue my chin to the hip, and that cuts off the space to some degree where her arm has to shoot through. So even if she gets her hand underneath and between my jaw and my shoulder, when she goes to actually bring the hand through to lock up, it's not impossible, but it's way, way harder with my chin connected to the hip versus if I was up here somewhere, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I shrug my shoulders forward, and I just go jaw to shoulder. Then I go chin to hip. When she goes to guillotine me from here, there's no space my partner can ever exploit to punch her hand through, and now we can start working to go into passes, knowing that we're not going to get strangled right away. All right, so once again, we passed side body lock, our partner turns away. How can we take it back from here? Okay. Whenever I see we go into a side body lock, head outside, our partner has an overback grip, and she elects to start turning away. She has to relinquish the overback grip, and she has to take her hand out and over to the other side. We're in the same exact position we were just in before, where I have my ear to my partner's back. She goes to get up. I plant the hand on the floor. I start sagging off the edge of my partner's body. As she goes to scissor the leg, she drags me up with her. I insert a hook, and now I'm ready to start working attacking from turtle. Okay, so the same idea. This time, the pathway to the back is actually easier because we don't have to switch from head inside to head outside. So if a naive opponent does turn away from you, the back is right there, readily available, and you can easily attack your partner from turtle position as she goes to get up. All right, so now let's look at, we get to a head outside side body lock, and our partner just doesn't know what's going on, and they allow you to switch your head to the inside position. Okay, there's a couple ways that that this can happen. We touched on one of them already. So we get to a head outside side body lock, and if our partner is just a moron and puts her two hands behind her back on the floor, this is the easiest thing now to just raise my head to the inside position. And now, whenever I see this and my partner's hands are on the floor, I'm looking to put my partner's back on the floor. The problem is she has two bases of support, so I can't just use my head position. So whenever I see this, I just take my chin over top of my partner's trap muscle like so. So now if she tries to build height or stand up or do any of that, she can't do it, okay? And now I just take my hand and I just slap my partner's hand out. Okay, this is embarrassingly simple and easy, but incredibly effective. The key is to take your partner's hand in the direction the fingers point. So the directionality of force is very specific. You look at the direction your partner's fingers are pointing and you slap the hand in that direction. If I try to go out in this direction, it won't go. If I go out in this direction the hand comes right out. And I pressure over my partner's upper body so the back just crumbles to the floor. So whenever I see this, my partner just lets me take the head out. We switch initially the head inside, and then from here, we go chin to trap. And now from here, she goes to stay up. We just collapse our partner down to the floor, and now we switch head positions to the other side, and we can pin our partner. So first, we get to a head outside, and we have an idiot partner who just takes the hand out and places it on the floor. I just build from head outside to head inside to chin to trap. And now when she goes to move around from here and stay up, we just sit our partner down to the floor. Okay, a second scenario, which is more a little bit more advanced, is when your partner does have an overback grip from here, but she doesn't really have tension running through the arm. She kind of just has the hand like sitting there. Okay, whenever I see that, I can just use my left shoulder to just bump my partner's chest backwards. And as I do that, I just shrug my shoulders and I just pop my head out to the inside. And now we move to the same series that we looked at before, getting to the wrist. Okay, so whenever I see from this position, my partner has a hand that's over my back as an overback grip, but it's just kind of sitting there. If I feel there's no tension, I just pop my left shoulder forward, I shrug my shoulders into a concave position, and I just bump my head from outside to inside, and now we start working right from there, and we get a head outside to inside conversion. All right, so now let's look at converting our head to the inside when our partner has a little bit tighter grip, a little bit tighter overback grip. Understand that this is a little bit more risky because you're unlocking your hands, and it does give you some danger of your partner scooting away and bringing the knee inside or underhooking you. We'll look at that now. So understand with your hand position, if we're here and my partner just has an overback grip, I generally just prefer my elbow on the outside of my partner's leg like so. If I feel like my partner's trying to scoot away from me, instead of trying to pull my partner in with the strength of my arms, I just take that same inside elbow grip like so, where now when she goes to scoot away, instead of using a pulling grip, I just have a physical wedge inside my partner's hip where she can't invert the knee. Okay? Because again, the danger here is she scoots away, she inverts the knee, and now from here, she can start underhooking me and going back into butterfly guard and giving me issues. Okay? So, in general, if I see my partner's just sitting here, I use a grip like so. If I see she's scooting away, I use a grip like so. Okay? Now, if I want to transfer my head to the inside position, I'm going to take a tight waist with my right hand. So I go long arm with my right hand, and then I very quickly switch to a throat post. Okay, whether my partner has a hand or has an elbow on the floor, it doesn't really make a difference. It's easier with my partner's elbow on the floor because my partner's head's lower. So if I want to get the elbow to the floor, I can try by using my shoulder and my partner's sternum, put the shoulder on the floor. And then I very quickly, this is not a move that you mess around and keep your hands unlocked for a long amount of time with. If I leave my hand unlocked for a long amount of time, my partner can easily scoot away from me. The tight waist can only hold her for so long. She'll eventually be able to scoot away and invert the knee. So I very quickly, usually after some kind of off balance, whether her hand's on the floor, I bump her elbow to the floor, and on the off balance with the kazushi, I switch to a grip on my partner's throat. So I off balance my partner, and then I quickly come to a throat post, and I create a disconnection between my body and hers. And that allows me to pop my head to the inside and quickly relock my hands. So we play a game where we're fighting here, we're having this battle, and then I quickly post my partner's throat. When she goes to keep that overback grip, strong, I can pop my head out quickly, and from here we can switch and make a conversion to the inside, which is much better for us, and we can start to work. So we can use a tight waist and start going into a throat post. Understand that your partner can shrimp away from you, and she can underhook this arm, which will have to give you real issues if you don't do this quickly and coupled with the kazushi. We're playing here, we're moving around, go ahead, move around. And then we go in and we lock, and we're ready to play. Okay, so converting with a throat post, creating a disconnection of my body and hers, making a transition from a head outside to a head inside. All right, let's look at getting to the far wrist and taking our partner's back. All right, the only thing between us is that overback grip, not allowing our head to rise. Okay, first let's look at putting our partner's elbow on the floor, which we can usually do. There's some cases where we can't do it, which we'll cover in a second. But there we can usually get the wrist to the elbow to the floor. So she's an over back grip. I have a head outside side body lock, and she has her hand on the floor. Now I can usually return her elbow to the floor by taking my left shoulder into the sternum and just driving forward and circling slightly to my right, clockwise. So as she has the head on the floor, I just walk in this direction, and I circle slightly and put her elbow on the floor. Now I play the same game we looked at before. If I can get right to the wrist, we do it. If it's so far away where I can't grab it, I can always see, I can look around the corner, and I can always reach with my left hand to come through, and we catch our partner's wrist like so. And now from here, we just put the shoulder on the floor, and now we have exposure to our partner's back. Now your partner has a choice from here. If she stays in this position, now I go to the tight waist, and she has to start moving away from me, and if she moves to turtle position, I win this battle from here. If your partner, on the other hand, reaches back and she takes a whizzer, now you've converted, or she's willingly converted you into a head inside body lock. And now from here, we can either return her back to the floor and go into a pin, or we can start backtracking into the legs and we can hit the same series we looked at before. So she's a choice. If I get to the far wrist and I put her shoulder on the floor and she doesn't do anything, now from here, her back's exposed. If she's turtling, she gets a hook put in. If she stays here, then I just step over, and now I'm taking her back or mounting her. So she has to move from here. If she doesn't want her back exposed, she's got to aggressively turn towards me, and from here she puts the whizzer in place. And now from here, where I go, is up to me. I can put her back on the floor, or I can start backtracking into the legs and playing a game that we played before, where we had the head inside and the shoulder on the floor. So if we can get to the wrist, we can put the shoulder on the ground and play a dilemma between whizzer versus no whizzer. If there's no whizzer, the back's right there, and you can take your partner's back. If she puts the whizzer back in, then you have a head inside body lock, and you're playing the same game that we played before. All right, so let's say now that we can't get our partner's elbow to the floor, which means we can't access the far wrist, just by using our shoulder and the sternum to put our partner's elbow on the floor. Maybe they have good hand positioning, maybe they're bigger and stronger, whatever the case is. How can we access the far wrist? Whenever I see this, I just switch to a claw grip, okay? Now, you're unlocking your hands, so once again, there is a danger of your partner scooting away from you. The whole purpose of the claw is to quickly bring the elbow down to the floor and snag a wrist as soon as you can. Okay, this is not a move where you unlock your hands and you hang out. Same thing as before. So whenever I see my partner has his over back grip, and I just can't put the hand on the floor, we switch to a tight waist, like so, and now from here, we take a claw grip. The second I have the claw grip, I just run a circle in this direction, and I put the elbow right on the floor. The second the elbow comes down, I immediately switch. 1, 2. And now from here, we put the elbow on the floor, and we play a game where we can start going in, whether my partner turns away, we have the back, or she turns into me, we have the head inside body lock, and we go into the same series. So I quickly switch to a claw, and you'll always be able with the claw to put your partner's elbow on the floor. Sometimes, with the shoulder position, you won't be able to do it. She'll keep walking the hand back, and I won't be able to do it. With the claw grip, you can always bring the elbow down. When she goes as hard as you can to keep the elbow up, you're always going to bring the elbow down. And now the second the elbow touches, 1, 2, 3. And now you're winning this battle 10 times out of 10. All right, so once we get to our partner's far wrist and we put the elbow down, we can switch back to a claw grip. All right, and what are the purposes of this? It's to create a stronger connection, chest to back on my opponent, so that when I do take my partner's back, I have more control over them. So I use this claw grip, like so, to get to my partner's wrist, and I put her back on the floor. Now from here, I go back to the claw grip. And when I go back to the claw grip, what I don't want to happen is for me, I can't stay here, and my partner goes to turtle, and I lose control over my partner's lower body. And now from here, if she goes to turtle, I lose the wrist, and then the angle gets all messed up, and now I have my back taken. So when I go back to a claw grip after returning the shoulder to the floor, you have two options. You can go to a tight waist, where now you can stay hip to hip. So if your partner tries to explode to turtle position, you can follow her. Good. You can follow my partner's hips and stay hip to hip. Or you can use a claw grip and you can backtrack into the legs and willingly go back into your partner's legs so she can't explode the turtle position without hip to hip contact. So if I switch to a claw grip and I put her shoulder on the floor, now I have to present the leg to my partner and at least entangle it like so. If I can step right over into a situation like so, then it's easy. Now no matter where she goes, I have her back and we can go into it and take her back. But I have to, at the very least, if I'm going to stay with the claw grip, backtrack and present my leg to my partner. So now, worst case scenario, if she goes to explode to turtle position, I can control her the whole way. And even if she is so explosive where she gets up, I have a hook in place and we're hip to hip with our partner. Okay? So we present our partner a leg and we backtrack through. And now we have a multitude of options. From here, we can come forward, we put a claw grip in place, we can slide through, and now we have our partner's back. We can fight to step our leg over, we can slide through, now we have our partner's back. We can take our hand out, we can start mounting our partner, we can go kagetame. We can pass the side control on the opposite side. There's almost an innumerable amount of things we can do from here once we start backtracking with the claw grip. So we have two clear-cut pathways here. If we stay with the claw, you have to backtrack into the legs on anyone who's not completely retarded, okay? If, on the other hand, you don't elect to go to a claw, you have to go with the tight waist if your partner's turning away from you, so when they go to a turtle position, you can stay hip to hip. If you lose the hips, a good wrestler, anyone halfway good, is going to immediately come to turtle position, circle out, create disconnection of the hips, and then you completely lost the upper body, and now you're even getting your back taken, okay? So you use a claw and you backtrack, or you use a tight waist and you follow them up to turtle position. Those are your two options. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the side body locks. Just such a dominant position, especially head inside body locks. Such a dominant position when you outflank your partner's legs and you move to these side body locks. There's so many different directions you can go from here. But one thing that you have to understand is you cannot draw a line between locked and unlocked hands. And it's very clear cut, even more so than before, after working with side body locks. If you stay with locked hands and side body locks, you're going to have such a hard time reaching your full potential, flattening guys out. It's not going to work on anyone good. It's just simply not. You have to be able to have the confidence to go from locked hands to unlocked hands to locked hands to unlocked hands. You can't just play with open hands. You can't just play with locked hands. You have to be able to transition smoothly between the two at the given times that you need to. And until you are fluid enough to switch from a locked, closed hand position to an open hand position and vice versa, you're not going to reach your full potential in body lock passing and specifically side body locking. It's more prevalent than ever when you're side body locking. A lot of side body locking has to do with getting to the far wrist and putting the shoulder, one or two shoulders on the floor. And one of the only ways you can do that on a talented opponent is by unlocking the hands. All right. Now, with that being said, let's go into locking body locks from a half guard. All right, let's look at now entering into body locks from a half guard. All right, so we looked at forcing half guard from body locks. Now let's look at, we're in half guard and we want to force a body lock on someone. Anytime we can get past our partner's top knee and get chest to chest, we can lock a body lock. Okay, I can't go into a knee shield and expect to lock my hands in a meaningful way. Okay, anytime, whether it's butterfly half or knee shield half, anytime I can get past my partner's top knee, I can go in and I can lock a body lock on my partner. Okay, in general, if I see my partner's near side shoulder, the shoulder closest to me, on the floor, I use far side setups where my forearm digs underneath and I lock my hands. In general, if I see my partner's elbow up on the floor in a power prop with a shoulder off the floor, I use near side setups where I shoot underneath and I expose my partner's lower back, and we lock up and we go into body locks from here. Okay? General rule, near side shoulder on the floor, we use a far side arm dig. Shoulder off the floor, we use a near side arm dig, okay? And we have to be past our partner's top knee in order to actually get to a body lock and lock our hands in a meaningful way. Let's look at locking on someone who's relatively naive, and they sit up towards me as after I'm past my partner's top leg. So, right, so we get into a situation where we're past our partner's top leg like so. Now, whenever you're past your partner's top leg, you can't be exposing your lower back to your partner if you're the bottom player. What you should be looking to do from here is keeping your back on the floor and bringing your knee inside my elbow. That from here she can free that bottom knee, and now she can sit up because she has a knee in front of me. All right? But when you're dealing with a naive player, many people try to sit up towards you like so. The second I see my partner's lower back come off the floor, we just immediately shoot my near arm underneath like so, and we lock in, and now we lock into a body lock like so. Now there's no basis of force behind my partner's body. So it's a relatively easy thing from here to take my ear to my partner's shoulder and start walking her back down to the floor, okay? Another great alternative, and we'll look at actually body lock passing in our half guard study when we're looking at actually passing half guard. Another great alternative is accessing my partner's far wrist here. And now from here, we can do a whole different, we can play a whole different game, and we have a ton of options once we get to our partner's far wrist. When we get past our partner's top leg, and from here, our partner makes the mistake of trying to sit up towards us. We just go in and we lock right away, and now from here, we can pull our partner towards us with the right elbow as my head pushes against the shoulder, and we sit our partner down to the floor. Or we can have even more robust set of options if we get to our partner's far wrist and start using a far wrist series and passing from there. Okay, so naive opponent that sits up towards us without having access to an underhook or anything, and I see my partner's back come off the floor. Whenever that lower back is exposed, that's the time for body locks. All right, so this time we're past our partner's top leg, and she's smart. She doesn't sit up towards me without having an underhook or anything, and she keeps her back on the floor, and it's harder to expose the lower back. Whenever I see this, I get past my partner's top leg, and we just settle down to a situation like so, okay? Where if at any point my partner sits up, my hands are in position to lock my hands. Assuming she doesn't sit up and she's in on her side, she's in a good position like so. Whenever I see this, I just take my left hand and I just catch my partner's hip with my left hand like so. And now I just do a finagling of my hand underneath my partner's body. So I just wiggle it deeper and deeper and deeper until I can get my hand all the way through. So she's here, we're playing around, I just wiggle my hand deeper and deeper and deeper. And now I just connect my hands together like so. Now, once my hands are connected, I'm going to look to shoot into a centered hand body lock. Where from here, I just extend my left arm. This will raise my partner's body and make room for my right arm to shoot through. And now we have our hands centered with a wrist-to-wrist grip, and we can go in and start locking and playing a game right from here. Okay? So we're past our partner's hips like so. She's usually in a situation on her side, and we go in and we grab our partner's hip. Now, we just finagle our hand in. What we want is our forearm flush on the floor underneath our partner's body. So until we get that, we just keep wiggling the arm through. We're playing around here, and we go in. Now, we just lock our hands initially. Now, I straighten my left arm, and that raises my partner's hips. Then I just shoot my right arm through. We lock, and now we flatten our partner out, and we're ready to work once again. Okay, so digging underneath, assuming we can't get our partner's shoulders off the floor. All right, so now we're going to look at our partner locks and underhook, and we're going to repommel and shoot right to a body lock. Okay, so this time we're in half guard. She sits up and she has an underhook, like so. Okay, she has an underhook, which means she doesn't have a knee shield. You're not going to play a knee shield and an underhook at the same time. All right, so what we're going to look to do is we initially put in a whizzer so we don't get our back taken. And then from here, we're going to use a reverse crossface on our partner like so. when she goes to use the underhook effectively, it's a difficult thing to do. Now, as I have this reverse crossface, I can take my whizzer out. When she goes to take my back from here, I can always make space. So I take a reverse crossface, I take the whizzer out, I slice my elbow through. The second my elbow comes through, I immediately lower my head position so that my ear comes right down to my partner's shoulder, and my forehead connects to my partner's neck. And now from here, the elbow comes through, and I just use my fast hands to just go in and lock. And now from here, we just pull the right elbow. We use our head on our partner's shoulder, and we just place our partner's two shoulders down on the floor once again. Or we get to that far wrist, and we start working from there. Okay? So we play a game. My partner puts an underhook in place. Whizzer comes in first, so we don't get our back taken. The second I see this, the whizzer's in, our chin is up and over our partner's elbow. We put a reverse crossface in. She goes to move towards me, she can't. I re-pummel my hand by moving away and slicing my elbow just inside my partner's elbow like so. Now my head comes down and replaces my hand. So when she goes to move towards me, she can't. As she goes to re-pummel, it's too late. And now from here, we can flatten our partner out and go to work. All right, so this time my partner puts an underhook, and instead of trying to re-pummel, I'm just gonna lock right over the underhook, and I'm gonna go into an over-under body lock instead this time, okay? So this time, my partner puts an underhook in place, and this time instead of going to a whizzer, you can go to a whizzer initially, but instead of going to a whizzer, I'm gonna end up using that same V-grip we looked at before. When she goes to use that underhook, it's a hard thing to do. If I want to, I can put the reverse crossface in as well. When she goes to move towards me, I just take my chin and I just place it over my partner's elbow. This will effectively connect your partner's elbow to her body, or get it close to a connection. And now from here, there's nothing stopping me from just shooting through and locking into one of our favorites, the over-under body lock from here. And now we flatten our partner out and we can start to work. Now from here, it's all a matter of going in and using various half-guard passes to get past our partner's legs and into side control or mount, okay? So this time, I feel like my partner comes up, she has an underhook, we go whizzer, reverse crossface, V-grip. She goes to use that underhook, we just walk the elbow down and connect it to our partner's rib cage. And now from here, we just quickly shoot to a body lock like so. She goes to use the underhook, there's no way she's going to be able to. And now we just place our partner's back on the floor, and we're ready to go into passing from body locks with half guard, or at least returning our partners back to the floor and then changing our hand positions. All right, guys, so this is the outro. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This is probably the most dense instructional I've probably done. But super, super important stuff. As you've seen, mostly everything we're doing is based around some form of shelving, stuffing, or splitting the legs. Okay, whether we shelf a leg across our hips, whether we stuff a leg into half guard, or whether we split a leg with our legs or double split with two legs. We looked at a variety of front body locks, whether we use open hands or closed hands with the traditional body lock, where we move from closed hands to open hands and back and forth. And we looked at side body locks as well, okay? One of the most important lessons you have to take from this is you have to get out of the habit, if you have this habit built already, of locking your hands and just trying to squeeze as hard as you can until you get past your partner's legs. You have to be able to move fluidly from closed to open hands and vice versa. Okay, this is the only way you're going to reach your full potential as a true body lock passer. Okay, with that, you have to be good at side body lock. You have to be able to play a dilemma between front and side body locking. Otherwise, you won't reach your full potential. Okay, and you clearly also have to be good at leg pommeling. We use the same leg pommeling we looked at, some of the same leg pommeling we looked at in the first passing series in this series. But instead of using it from a loose passing scenario, we use it from a body lock scenario with high tripoding and things like that. So you have to be able to play, your game has to run deep. You have to be able to play a low hip game, a high hip game, hands locked, unlocked, front body locks, side body locks. And that's what's going to get you to your true potential of body locking. Okay. Other than that, thank you, Fanatics. Thank you, Sonny. We've been here filming for I don't know. I think it's 4 days total. We did like 6-10 hours each day, so been long days. But this is gonna be a good one. We have I think this is the longest one ever. I think we got like at least 10 hours of content, maybe more, and then it's the rolling content. So my longest one so far has been the first passing instructional. That I think was 10 hours total. This will be a little bit longer, I think. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and let me know what you think.
I bet you cannot body lock me under 1 minute.
Body lock pass you?
Yeah,
Okay.
under 1 minute. From standing position. Ready?
From standing position?
Yeah. Go.
I'm getting that 100. I'm getting that 100. There's a new technique when there's money on the line.
How long that was? 30 seconds. You still have 30 seconds.
Damn. Keep going.
That's it.
No, keep going. Yeah. The first one, I just use all my strength. I was like, if I just lock my hands, I don't care if she's inside position, I'm just gonna go right through it. A neat technique when there's money on the line. You got power.
Gore.